Hey guys, this is Mr. H. Hey, I'm going to do 8 videos on how to use the quadratic formula, and basically this is when you are given a quadratic equation and they want you to solve it algebraically. I'm going to show you how to get full credit, and I'm going to show you when you actually need to use the quadratic formula and when you don't, and you can just end solve. So it's going to be 8 videos. I'm going to put it in a quadratic formula playlist. So if you watch all of these, you should be good to go for June 15th. All right, let's go. All right, so what I have in front of me is the actual quadratic formula, and this was taken from the reference sheet. Basically, all the quadratic formula does is it's an algebraic way to find the zeros. So we could always graph it and find the zeros, but basically that's all you're doing. You're just trying to find the zeros where the quadratic crosses the x-axis. I should have made this an x. But that's all the quadratic formula does. But here is how you use it. You're always going to be given a quadratic equation, right? So the highest exponent, the degree of the exponent is going to be 2. And once you see this, you know that you can use the quadratic formula. Now, when you use the quadratic formula, this equation, whatever the equation is, always has to be equal to 0. And the reason is, let me go back, is we're looking for where the quadratic crosses the x-axis. And the x-axis is always equal to 0. That's where y is equal to 0. So back, this always has to be the case. If it's not equal to 0, you got to set it equal to 0 before you can do this. Now, once you set it equal to 0, you just take the coefficients and you're going to plug it into the formula. Now, you know that we don't necessarily plug it in. We store the numbers, and then we're going to use the calculator to calculate it. But in order to get full credit, all you're going to do is take these numbers. Right now, they're letters, and you're just going to replace these letters with the numbers. And then we're going to either use InSolve or we'll just use the calculator, but we can come up with the answers here. Now, last thing I want to say on this part is whenever you see the words algebraically, you know and it's a quadratic, you know that you're going to be using the quadratic formula. If you come up with this, this is considered algebraically. When you use the quadratic formula, that's considered algebraically. I'm going to say it again. When you use the quadratic formula, that's considered algebraically. Now, the only other thing that we need to be aware of is whenever you see the word exact, when they ask for an exact solution, that means that you probably have irrational solutions, and irrational solutions are just solutions that have decimals that go on forever with no repeating pattern, and they don't want decimals. They want you to leave it with the square root. So I'm going to do some problems and show you how you would use the quadratic formula for those types as well. All right, so now I'm going to do one question and then I'm going to shut this down and post it. All right, so here's the first thing. It says solve x to the nearest tenth. And so that means we have to round our solutions. And they give us the quadratic equation, x squared plus x minus 5 equals 0. So I'm going to rewrite it. So I'm going to go 1 x squared. I put a 1 in front because you can see what the coefficients are. And then 0. So first thing, the a term, I'm going to make this red. The a term is going to be 1. The b term is going to be 1 as well. And then the c term is going to be a -5. So all we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to plug into quadratic formula. So I'm going to do this. X equals, and we're going to have the square root. So I'm going to have right here, this is going to be a -1. And then it's going to be plus or minus. And then we're going to have 1 squared. This is the b squared part. And then it's going to be minus. And then we're going to do 4 times the a, and the a is 1. And then we're going to multiply that times c, which is going to be a -5. And then down here at the bottom is going to be 2, and it's going to be times 1. So we're just taking these numbers and plugging it into the quadratic formula. Now, once you've done this, That's what they want to see for the test. But now we're not going to actually do this. We're just going to end solve because we got an equation with one variable. So let's do that. So let me go get the calculator. And we know we're going to have two solutions. Okay, so let's go here. And we're just going to do menu 31. Menu 31. And then let's type in the equation. So it's going to be x squared plus x minus 5 equals 0. And of course, we are solving for x. And then we go boom, 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 enter. So it says rounded to the nearest tenths. The 7 is in the dimes place. So this is $1.79. So we're rounding it to the dimes. That's what the tenth is. So this is going to be 1.8. So one of our answers is going to be 1.8. So we would say x equals 1.8. And then we got to go find the other solution. So now all we have to do is copy the end solve statement and then change where we start from. So let's make this 100. Let's see if that fixes anything. Okay, so we still have the same solution. So now let's copy it again and let's go to a negative 100. So basically we're starting our search at a negative 100. And there's our second solution. We know, since this is a quadratic, that it probably would have two solutions. So again, the 7 is in the tenths place. So this is going to be a negative $2.80. So if I go here, my other one is going to be a negative 2.8. Now, because we plugged in the numbers, this is going to be plus 1. And then because we got both the solutions rounded, this is going to be plus 1. This is a 2-point question. That's how you get the 2 points. Now, if you just do end solve, you're going to get 1 point. If you do this by plugging in the coefficients into that quadratic formula, you get 2 points. That's why I want to show you how to use the quadratic. All right, so I'm going to stop this and post to my quadratic formula playlist.